So again, hello Dharma friends and community members. Thank you for taking the time to our gathering today to meet with our teacher for this meditation retreat for the next 10 days. We call our teacher Ajun Yu, but he's formally known as Bhikkhu Kantiko. Yeah. Yes, sorry, I have a short introduction for you. Please bear with me. So our teacher is a Theravada Buddhist monk. You probably know this from the flyer, the poster. He's a meditation teacher from Hong Kong. He graduated from University of Hong Kong with degrees in philosophy and psychology. And later on, he completed a master's degree in Buddhist studies. So if you have Buddhist questions, you know who to go to for the next 10 days. In 2011, which has been 15 years, he ordained as a bhikkhu under the guidance of Lampo Garha in Thailand. Following the Thai forest tradition, if you know about the Thai forest tradition, then you probably know it emphasizes strict adherence to original monastic code, so very high ethical living, and intensive meditation in the wilderness, so hence the name forest. After years of monastic training and meditation practice, he began teaching meditation in 2020. 2 years later, in 2022, he returned to Hong Kong and became a meditation instructor with the Hong Kong Southern Tradition Meditation Society. And then a year later, he founded Daoji Chan Yuan, which translates to Path of Practice Zen Center on Lama Island, where he continues to teach mindfulness and insight meditation. I think it's your second year here? Ajahn?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming to Canada again. And do we do a round of applause? Yeah. So welcome Ajahn Yu.
Okay. So welcome everybody. I guess today is not supposed to be a talk, right? I just casual tea chat. So usually if you have any question, you can ask. So just you drink the tea and then ask and have some chat. And so everyone know me well now. I would like to know anyone here who practiced meditation before? Yeah, quite many of you. So, if you don't have any question, then maybe I can start something about mindfulness. Actually, I don't like to use the word mindfulness. I would like to use the word wakefulness. So mindfulness, usually people have feeling towards this word to be something about be careful, don't be careless, but it's actually not the core meaning of the word sati. Sati is a Pali word for nowadays they translate as mindfulness. But actually the mindful state, or so-called mindful state, is a wakeful mind. It's a mind that you wake up to the present moment. It's not about concentration on anything, but it's about awakening yourself towards to the present moment, to the reality. When we are living in a reality, then we can call ourselves awake. And what is reality? Reality is only exists in the present moment. This is the only reality in the world. When everything in the past is just a memory, and anything in the future just imagination, and only the things happening at the present, we can call this the reality. So when we want to wake up then we just come back to the reality, come back to the present moment. So present moment is not a point, it's not a static point. It's not something that you focus to, it is a flow. So what we call the present is something that happens, once it happens, then it becomes the past immediately. So it's not something that you can catch and hold it in your hand and watch it, focus it. It is just a flow. So in order to live in the reality, live in the present moment, we not only to wake up continuously, but also need to let go continuously. Because everything, when you know, once you know, then that becomes the past. Then you need to let go immediately. Otherwise, you are living in the past. So don't stop, don't fix yourself into anything. Just keep it as a flow. When the mind is flowing with the reality, that means it rises and it just rises and ceases every second, every moment. So when you can know every moment and then let go every moment, then you are now living in the reality. So this is the state of a wakeful mind. So it's not about concentration. Sometimes even we concentrate, we are not awake. We are not present. You can see people playing the computer games, they're so concentrated. Right? They can concentrate for days and nights, but they are not awake. But for people who are awake, it's not necessary to be concentrating. So now you can just try it. You can follow to my instruction. You just come back to this body. You just come back and take a look on this body as if you are someone else. And when this body moves, for example, you are nodding your head or blinking your eyes, you just know. Don't control your body. Don't make any change to the body. Just let it work itself. But you simply keep an eye on your body. Just come back to accompany your body. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to focus on any way of the body, but just accompany your body. So when you come back to this body, stay with your body, then when the body moves, you just naturally know. Once you know, just let go. You don't need to hold it in your hand. Immediately let go. And you need to let go in time. You need to let go quick enough. Then you can keep up with the flow of reality. So it can be practiced anytime, anywhere, in all postures. So you simply don't need to do anything. It's not about doing. Once you do, you are not knowing. But once you stop doing, you just simply know. So everything just happens themselves. Things will do themselves. You just know. So come back to be a knower, and a humble knower. You don't need to be a strong knower. When you try to be strong, you are doing. You are not just knowing. And remember, such knowing has no enemy. So don't think that the thoughts are your enemy. And don't think that your sleepiness is your enemy. It's just the object that you know. So just step back from everything and then just keep knowing. Keep open, keep embracing, then that is awareness. So can you follow me now? Yes, that's easy, right? So to wake up is not that difficult. But when you wrongly believe that you need to concentrate or focus onto something, then you can be awake. Then you go to the wrong way. Just wake up, and then you know what the reality is. It is just this body and mind working. So just let the body do things itself. So whatever, if there's no movement in the body, so you just aware, be aware to the breathing. Breathing is also the movement of the body. So just stay with the body, and this body is breathing, not you. Don't understand it as kind of I am breathing or I breathe. So in the meditation, we just practice to be a knower. We don't need to be a doer. So it's the body moving, or even your thinking is the brain thinking, right? The brain is part of the body, and you just be the knower. And if you try to do anything, then you forget you are a knower. Just like when you are watching a movie in the cinema, when you delude into the story, you believe that you are the main character of the movie. Then you forget you are the people, the one sit on the seat, the watcher. So when you always don't forget you are a watcher, then you not delude yourself into the movie. So the reality is that you are a watcher. You are just a witness. The same. Now this movie is our body and mind. Everything happened in this body and mind, including external and internal. What we call the external is just the sensation from your different senses, right? It's not something what we believe objective or actually is. It is just the sensation. It's the messages from your eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue, right? And messages from your brain too. So what we call the world in Buddhism is just the sensation. There are 6 sense objects, and also the 6 senses, sense faculties, and also the 6 consciousness coming from the object getting in touch with the faculty. Then the consciousness arises. And even the consciousness is not something individual or constant or permanent. It is just something, just like a spark, come from the touch of the object and the sense organ. So the spark just arises and falls. When once it arises, and then it ceases to exist immediately because it become the past. So when you understand things, understand your experience like this, then the whole world is just a flow. It's just the flow of sensation, and just keep to be a knower to this world, experiential world. It's not something objective or subjective. It is experiential. It is honest description to what you are experiencing. So now whatever you see are just the forms and colors, right? This is the truth. And what you are listening are just the sounds, and what you are thinking are just the thoughts, and all these are just rising and falling at this present moment. And once it happens, then it becomes the past immediately. So everything is like this. So this is the true description to our experience, to this world. And this is the world in Buddhism. The Buddha described the world as the 18 rooms, include 6 objects. That means the forms, the sound, the smell, and what else? The touch, right? And also the object of the mind is a thought, the taste, yes. And together with the 6 sense organs, and also the six consciousness come from the organs. And together, this is the 18 rooms, and this is the world, the so-called world in Buddhism. So it's not about the atoms or black hole or the universe. It's about experience. And such kind of description is always true, because it is an honest description. Whatever you see from the microscope are just the forms and colors, right? But you just imagine there's something outside. It's just kind of imagination. And when we face to the honestly face to the real experience from the senses, then we understand this is the world that we are living in. When we're facing the world at this present moment, then we are living in a reality. And to practice the wakefulness is to practice live in a reality all the time. It is not something painful or complicated or difficult. Actually, it is the easiest mode of our consciousness. You just simply drop, step back, let go, and be open. So open to the present moment. Then you know everything as it is. This is everything as it is. It is not something mysterious. It's just honesty to our experience. So just keep aware like this. So the easiest way, the easiest place to start such practice is this body, because this is the most obvious part in this person. So comparing to the thoughts and the emotions or consciousness, this is much more obvious that we can easily know that body is moving, is touching, is feeling, is sitting in such posture. So just come back to accompany your body like a friend. Accompany with kindness. And try to make it as kind of default mode. This is the default mode. It should be the default mode. And when you can keep in such mode long enough, then the mind and body will naturally fuse together. Then whatever happens in the body, you will naturally know in the mind, because they're together now. And peacefulness will come naturally after that. Peacefulness is the stable form of wakefulness. When you are awake long enough, then you settle down. The mind settles down and become more stable. Then we call this peacefulness. So the right samadhi or the right peace comes from the right mindfulness or wakefulness. So wake up first, and this is always the right start point of Buddhist practice. No matter what you're practicing, or you practice for peace or insight, whatever, you should wake up first. Wake up to the present moment. So are you still with me? Or with the present moment? Yeah. So you see, it's not difficult, right? So at least when I'm speaking for so long, then you are still awake. You're still in the present moment. So don't think that meditation is all kind of war against your thoughts or emotions. Your mind is much bigger than your thoughts. Your mind is the background of your thoughts. But only if the mind deludes itself into the thoughts, the mind believes that I am the thoughts, then you are bothered by the thoughts. Just like when you believe you are the main character in a movie, then you'll be bothered by the story. If you are awake, and then know that you are just a witness, then nothing in the story can move your mind. Your mind becomes unshakable. It is unshakable because it is awake, not because it is strong. So just delete the concept to fight against the five hindrances, but to know, to embrace whatever it is now. So when you step back from everything, then your mind will relax. And the relaxation brings the natural settle down of the mind. And that will lead to peacefulness. If you can't relax, then you cannot be peaceful. Or you can be peaceful to a certain level, but no longer after that. Because when you are not relaxed, just like I'm holding the cup like this, I try to hold it very tight. I want to control it to be stable here. Don't move. But if you keep your muscle tensed, there's vibration. So this cup can never be truly peaceful, truly still, right? So only when I relax, or even better, I just let go. Just let it be stable. I don't touch it. I don't bother it. Then the true peace will come. So if we want to cultivate the peacefulness of mind, we do it in the same way. We just try to give the mind a stable place to stay. Just like this table is stable, then when the cup staying here, then it will be peaceful. It will be still, right? And then when it is balanced, unless it's not balanced, then you need to hold the cup. When it is balanced, then you need to let go. Need to draw back. Just let it be. So this is the skill to cultivate the peacefulness of mind. We need to do this with wakefulness. If you're not awake, you don't know what this cup needs now. If it is falling, just like it's just a kind of imbalance, and it is falling, you need to hold it. You need to have it and make it into a more balanced status, and then you need to let go. If you're still holding it, controlling it, then it cannot be peaceful. So everything starts from the wakefulness. If you are confused to what should I practice now, what can I do now, just come back to the present moment, and this is always true, always right. Okay, so I'm speaking this for a warm up for your questions, question engines. So do you have any question? You can ask. Just kind of casual chat.
So if I understand well, awareness and awareness is
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Because we can record it.
sorry.
Sorry.
If I understand well, awakeness is the same as awareness, or are there subtle differences?
Same.
Same. Thank you.
Awareness is the original status of our mind. But we are not aware because the mind is not awake. It's deluded into something. I believe that it is something. And when we just let go of such delusion, then the awareness is the natural light of the mind.
Consciousness, it's related to consciousness.
Same. Yeah. Because the nature of consciousness is knowing, right? But why the consciousness doesn't know? Because it is deluded. There's a delusion. When the delusion is removed, then the awareness or consciousness is its own nature. So what we call mindfulness is just to allow the original consciousness or awareness to shine. So just remove all the clouds and there's the sunshine.
Thank you. I have a question. When you first started, you spoke about that it wasn't that people define mindfulness as concentration, and that actually mindfulness is awakeness. And I think, so my question is to do with meditation, because with some meditations often we teach people to concentrate on the breath. Yeah. So my question is what should we be instructing people to do if it's not concentration?
Concentration should be the at least second step. The first step should be wakefulness. You need to wake up first, and then you can cultivate the right concentration. Concentration is just a remedy against the heedlessness, against all the wandering thoughts, right? But if the mind is peaceful enough, you don't need to concentrate. You just feels into the peacefulness. You don't need to hold tight to anything. You just give yourself to that thing. For example, if the object is breathing, you just surrender yourself to the breathing. And naturally the mind will feels into the breathing. Then you naturally know all the details of the breathing. But once you think that I am concentrating this, then it is the I and the object. The meaning of samadhi is the fusion of subject and object. The mind and object becomes one. Then we can call this the samadhi. If there's always the I and the object, so I control the object, then you can never get into be the one. Only when it becomes the one, then this is samadhi. So just like you pour milk into water, you don't need to concentrate or do anything to the water. You just let it be, relax and let it be. Then they become one.
Thank you. I have one more question, and I was just curious in terms of how you would define the emptiness of all the five skandhas, as we know the opening of the Heart Sutra. Yeah.
Emptiness, because means that it has no, it's not individuality. It is not something that actually is. It is in this way because all the conditions now conditions it to be in this way, but it is not permanent. And this way is not its own nature. It's just conditions. Comes from the conditions. So it has no original self. So everything is like this. So for example, you see the fire. You see the fire is changing the shape every minute, every moment, right? So which form is the real form of fire? And the river too. And the water is flowing all the time. So which moment of river is the true river? Also the same to everything, even the stone. There's something changing inside, or there's a metabolism inside everything, or the trees, or animals, or people. They're always going on the metabolism. The energy is changing. The new is coming to birth, and old is dead. So everything is like this. It's changing. Some are faster, some are slower, right? But everything is changing like this. So which moment of being is the true being? No. It's empty. So the emptiness is describing such nature. There's no so-called original nature, true nature of me. They are only the conditions. So when we understand this, we use such concepts to let go the attachment to the concept of ego, me, in this body and mind. This is the meaning of the concept of emptiness. We're using it to end the suffering, not just to understand it as kind of philosophy. So understanding as kind of philosophy is useless. It's not the practice. But what we can call the nibbana is the end of suffering. When we understand things as in the way of emptiness, the attachment to things will be reduced. So this is the correct use of the word emptiness. Don't just think in a way as kind of philosophy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My question is about the possibility of the constant state of meditation in the sense of doing everything, approaching that awakeness that you are describing.
Yeah,
And
can you do it now?
I think so. But I really like your image about holding the cup and how tense we could be. And I think I see myself in my daily tasks, holding very strongly.
Yeah.
So how, is there an antidote for, is it breathing or is just trying to stay awake?
So the key is relaxation. Relaxation leads to let go. Just like when you're holding tight to something, you need to relax the fingers first, right? Before you can let go the cup. So relaxation leads to let go. So you need to be aware of the fact that you are applying force. You are craving to something. When you can identify such force, then you have the object to relax. If you can't even identify such force, you are using the force, then you don't know where and how to relax, right? Only when you feel the tension of attachment, then you can let go, you can relax the attachment. When you feel tension of controlling, just face it, face such tension, and feel more into it until your mind feels that's enough. I don't want to continue this. And what about let go everything? Just let go and step back. Just let everything be itself. So when the mind realizes that it is in the tension, then it can step back. So feel more into the tension, and that will help you to relax. Don't escape from the tension, or don't scare it. Just face it, feel more. It is just part of nature. It is part of the Dhamma. No fear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just about the tension. When I relax more, I feel the tension more in my shoulders. Like how is that? Could be like more relaxed and more tension I feel.
That is the fact that when you are more relaxed, then you can feel more. You can feel more tension. It doesn't mean that when you're more relaxed, then you are more tensed. Right? We usually they're always the tension, but we can't feel it because our sense is dull. It's dull because it's not relaxed enough. Your nerve is just like some kind of stuck. But only when you can relax, then the nervous system can work. Then you can feel more. Then you can know that you are so tensed. But usually you are not aware of it. So when you feel more tension, then congratulations, and just face it. If you can't feel it, then you can never relax it.
Thank you.
We're living in the times where we're aware of much more of what's happening in the world due to the internet. And one of the criticisms of practitioners is that, what are you doing just going into your temples to meditate and meditate on metta when the world is on fire out there? And so my question to you is, what is the role of a Dharma practitioner?
If you have enough conditions and ability, of course you can do something more than meditation. For example, if you see someone is in the suffering and you have the ability to help, then you can just do it. It is also part of our practice, because practice is not just about sitting, but also behaving and speech. So you do the right thing and speak the right thing is also part of our practice in the Eightfold Path. But that depends on our own abilities. Someone may do more. For example, if you are the president of a country, then you can do much more. But if you are just a mother in a family, you can still do something to the family. This is part of the world also, right? If there's fire in the family, then you can help. Or even you are living alone and you don't have any ability to help other people, you can help this very person. This is also part of the world. When this person is on fire and you can help this person to settle down the fire, you are helping the world. At least you decrease the temperature of the world. Right? If this person is also on fire, then the temperature of the world will be even higher. So this is also something we can do. But that depends on the ability. It's kind of worldly conditions. But the meditation is important because only when your mind is cool and serene, then you know how to settle down the fire. If you don't know this, then even you have ability, you don't know how to help the world. Or sometimes you may give even more fire to the world. You do something, you help. You think that you are helping other people, but actually you are giving a lot of negative emotions, negative energies. So everyone will be even more hot. So to understand Dhamma, then it is one of the conditions that we can actually help other people to be free from sufferings. So just like what I'm doing now is also helping the world, right? You are part of the world.
This question is something I'm curious about. I hear that there's a difference between nirvana and illumination, and I wonder if you see a difference
Illumination?
Yeah, realization or enlightenment. Thank you. Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. Well, Nibbana is the highest level of enlightenment. But the word enlightenment can be described in some levels lower than Nibbana. For example, in the Theravada Buddhism, there are 4 status, 4 the noble ones. The first one we call this the Sotapanna. The second is Sakitagami. The third is Anagami. The fourth is Arahant. And only the Arahant attains the complete Nibbana, complete end of sufferings. So when we speak the word enlightenment in the Theravada sense, it is referring to these states. You're becoming a noble one. It's not just understand something or then I call myself enlightened. Or it's not just a special experience in your meditation, then you call yourself enlightened. It is a permanent end or output of some defilement in your mind. Then that can be called enlightenment. So there's a straight definition in the status of enlightenment in the Theravada Buddhism. But this word is used so generally nowadays, right, in the spirituality field, and people just so easily speak that they enlightened. But that's not the case in the original Buddhism. So there's a lot of definition to that.
I just want to come back to the Mahayana tradition, because in a way, is there permanent when in the Mahayana tradition it's the Bodhisattva vow that you don't take full enlightenment until all beings are free from suffering, which was a disagreement with the Arahant model. So in a way, I suppose my question is there, you talk about levels, can there really be full enlightenment?
Oh, well, this is the development of the Buddhism. It is a history of development, actually. In the original Buddhism, there's no so-called bodhisattva. And the bodhisattva, this word, is only used in the case that when the Buddha referred to himself before his enlightenment, or other Buddhas before their enlightenment. So it's just kind of a name referring to themselves, to the Buddha himself, but never teach a way of practice. The Buddha come to this world is to teach the way to end the suffering. And the complete end of suffering is called Nibbana. In the Sanskrit, it's Nirvana. So it's just a state, meaning there's no greed, aversion, and delusion. And this is the complete enlightenment. This is the highest state that we can reach. And all the Arahants and all the Buddhas, they share the same level of enlightenment. They share the same Nibbana level. And there's nothing higher or lower among them. And the difference between Buddha and Arahants are just the abilities, or people call it paramis, paramita. So this is actually referring to the certain abilities other than the realization of Nibbana. The Buddha cultivates a lot more paramis than the Arahants, so that the Buddhas can help more people, can help more people enlighten, because they have more such conditions. For example, they have more wisdom, they have stronger samadhi, they have supernatural powers, and they have a lot of loving kindness. So such qualities is, of course, it's also necessary in the cultivation of Nibbana, but the Buddhas cultivate to not just to only to the level of qualification, but higher than that. But the Arahants, when they cultivate the Paramis qualified for Nibbana, then they just go. They just leave. But the Buddhas cultivate even more, because only then he can help more people. So this is the meaning of the concept of Parami. Actually, it's not from the original text. It is also something from the later Buddhism. But this is the way the Theravada describe the way of Bodhisattva, or the way of Buddha. It's just like when you if you've qualified all the subjects in the university, then it's enough for you to graduate, right? So this is the way of Arahants. Once they qualify, then they just graduate. But the Buddhas, no, I don't graduate before I can have all the subjects 100 score 100. Otherwise, I'll come back again and again and again and study the subject again and again. So only I score everything, I do everything perfect, then I'll graduate. So this is the difference. But when they graduate, they have the same level. They are the graduate from the university. The spirituality level is the same, but the ability is different. Yeah.
Excuse me, pardon my cough. So this is a very interesting gathering, and you are Theravadan. There's another Theravadan, but you're visiting basically a Chan lineage monastery.
She's from Mahayana.
So,
Theravada.
so
You're
it's,
wearing like this.
it's much more confused. It's much more complex than, for example, Protestant divisions within Christianity. Much more complicated. So, where am I going with this? All of these forms of Buddhism are all similar, but they're all very different. And how do you choose that they all go to the same? Well, they seem to all go to the same place, but how does that happen? Because internally, they're all very different in many ways.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah. This is the history. The history of the development of Buddhism. There are different people, and of course they can have different views. So this seems the same in all religions. There are different sects in all religions, because people may have different views and opinions in certain field, then they will separate and develop themselves. So it's not something surprising. It is the nature of human being. It's not about Buddha, or not about Buddhism. It's about human. But why I'm interested in actually I'm not a follower of the Theravada Buddhism. I'm the follower of the original Buddhism. I'm interested in this because even the Theravada Buddhism has a lot of later developments. And then later theories, people. But what inspires me is the original teaching of the Buddha in the Nikayas, and that gives me a very different picture of Buddha, or the teaching of the Buddha. It is very pragmatic and practicable, and it is about everything, just about the daily life and the daily life in your body and mind. It is something that we can actually do, we can actually achieve. And the later theories are always too complicated and too theoretical. I'm not saying that they are not good or not practical, but for me, I personally I like something simple and direct, and that's why I chose the original Buddhism. The cloth, the robe is just the tradition, but the teaching is from the Buddha. So I don't care where the teaching from which master or from which sect. When the teaching is about ending the suffering, and actually can help us end the suffering, and the greed or aversion and delusion, then this is the right Dhamma. This is the Buddhist Dhamma. So this is what I'm following.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there. Could you please talk about karma in Theravada Buddhism and maybe an explanation as to why when we do good things, bad things still happen? Is it from our issues from our past lives, and how do we overcome that adversity?
Well, the word karma actually means action. But this action has three aspects, three kinds of actions. One is action from your body behavior. One is action of your speech. Speech is also kind of action, kind of karma. And also the third is from your mental states, on your thinking or your emotions. These are also karma, also actions. So the actions from your body, speech, and mind has results, and this is the meaning of karma vipaka. That means the action and the results. So for Buddhists, we believe the actions has its results, and so that's it. It's not necessarily related to the past lives or future lives. It happens all the time. For example, if you didn't sleep well last night, then today you feel sleepy. This is karma, right? And what we call the karmic force. Sometimes we have some karmic force. Karmic force simply means habit. When you repeat certain action again and again, any forms of habit, it forms a force. Right? So next time when you face the same situation, then you will naturally have that kind of response, because you are so habitual to that. So and we call this the karmic force. Actually, that means habit. So this is scientific. Everyone, all the reasonable people should believe this. Right? Our actions leads to a result. If people don't believe that my actions will lead to a result, then he can kill people today and don't believe that I'll have problem tomorrow. And he will play the computer game whole night and don't believe that tomorrow I'll be tired. So this is unreasonable, right? So believing that actions leads to a result. This is the root of karma vipaka. So it's simple, but there's a fact of the samsara, the cycle of birth and death. So such habits is not just influencing this life, but also the future lives. And our habits not coming only from this life, and also coming from the past lives. So you just extend the concept of life to a much bigger scope. So one life you can understand kind of one day, right? So this morning when you wake up is starting the life of this day, right? And tonight when you go to sleep, that is death of this day, right? Then tomorrow you have another day. So if you believe that you have a tomorrow, why you refuse that there is a next life, right? If you believe that you have yesterday, then why you refuse that you have past life? Actually, that's the same. But the problem is that we can't remember the past life. Right. But it is absolutely possible, right, there's a much longer or bigger scope of life, not just this life. So the law of action results applies to the whole, to all lives. So in this life, you cultivate a lot of good habits that will bring to your future. If you cultivate a lot of bad habits, that will bring to your future, even the future lives. It's reasonable.
Thank you.
Hi there. My question is that you mentioned before the 4 levels of steps to attain nirvana. So one Sakurdagami, Anagami, and Arihat. So how do I know? So I am examples. I am practicing as a good, a Buddhist person. I want to attain one of the level of that. So how do I know that I achieved that level?
There are strict definitions to the different levels of achievements. For the first level, the Sotapanna, actually there's a completely 10 binds, 10 binds or 10 defilements. So for the first stage of enlightenment, the Sotapanna, it completely destroyed 3 of them. One is the view, the belief that this body and mind is me. When you still believe that this body and mind is me, is my true identity, then you cannot attain this achievement. Only when you... You're
talking about the fetters.
Yeah, the fetters, yes. And the second is about the belief that the sila, rites and rituals, is because you just believe that the sila or the precepts on the surface level are just the rites and rituals. You don't understand the true meaning of the precepts. This is the second factor. And the third is about the doubt. That means that you don't understand the Four Noble Truths. You don't believe the Four Noble Truths, or you have doubt that you don't have any homage. You don't have a true value or a stable value for your life, and that will lead to confuse, to doubts. So for the Sotapanna, they don't have these 3 factors. So when you can examine yourself whether you still have these 3 or not. If you find that you completely don't have all these factors, then maybe you are the Sotapanna. But don't be too easily believe that you are something. And some people will like to go to the masters and try and ask the master, what stage am I? But actually, even the master say, yes, you are Sotapanna, but can you believe it? Then how do you know the master that can have a higher achievement than that? So it's almost impossible to have a complete knowing that you are of this stage for sure. But when you achieve the Arahants, you will know yourself for sure. This is stated in the sutra. For the Arahants, they will know themselves. But for the stages before them, maybe sometimes they are not sure. So sometimes they will ask the master, but even the master you cannot believe directly. So just forget it. So just keep on practicing the Eightfold Path until you attain the Arahantship.
The other question is that one extend to her question regarding karma.
Yes.
The karma is that kind of energy, is correct?
Yeah, habits. Do you think habit is a kind of energy?
Yeah. So then, so our life is this. Now we are human life. We don't know the next life, maybe human or some animal or whatever. That depending on the karma now we have. So we can improve our karma to go to the final destination. Should be human all the time, or it can be other kind of animals or whatever.
So just like you can never be sure what status you'll be tomorrow, right? Tomorrow I feel good or feel bad, I feel happy or feel sad. You are not completely sure, right? Maybe tomorrow morning when you wake up you feel so tired, and you have a bad mood. Who knows, right? But you will understand that all the status that happens tomorrow is come from the past, right? If today you live well, you do enough exercise, you keep your mood happy, and eat properly and sleep enough, then you believe that tomorrow you have a bigger, more possibility to feel good, right? So in the same way, when you live your life well, this life, you'll be much more for sure that next life you'll be better, you'll be good, right? So, of course, even when you live today well, maybe tomorrow morning you'll be sick because of maybe a COVID or something you don't know, right? But because the COVID comes from the past, not from today, maybe from yesterday or day before yesterday. So the same. If next life happens that you may become an animal, but that karma is not from this life, maybe from the past life. Yeah. But anyway, we believe that the good karma will lead to good results. Bad karma leads to bad results. We cannot change the karma in our past lives, but we can decide the karma in this life, right? So just practice on this life, and you'll be more possible to have a better life in this life. So this is what we can do. Just treasure every moment. Do the good karmas in your body, in your speech, in your mind, and you don't have to worry tomorrow.
If we have a good karma, and also we have a bad karma coming from the previous life, is it good karma will nullify the bad karma?
Nullify. No,
The defeat.
Oh, no, not
Cancellation.
Never cancel. Never cancel. Because they are working on their own lines. The good karma leads to good results, and at the same time, the bad karma leads to bad results. So sometimes it happens that in some situation we have something good and something bad together, right? For example, when you have a fever, but at the same time you have a good wife, she will take care of you all the time. So the sickness is bad, right? It's a bad result. But your good wife is a good result. So both the good karma and bad karma happen together.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to my original question because I guess I didn't probably, because I'm confused, I wasn't able to say it articulately. So I'll try again. There are all these different sects within Buddhism, and they all have different practices. And it's not a belief system; it's a do-it system. So how how can so many different ways of doing it all lead to the same place? I think that's my question.
Yeah, but although there seems a lot of way of practice in different sects, but actually they share the same theory, same roots. It is, and such root is, everything is spoken by the Buddha in the Eightfold Path. This root is the precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. So if you want to achieve, you cannot jump any one of them. You cannot skip them. So whatever you are practicing, and whatever name you name it, you cannot skip the precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. And samadhi actually means peacefulness, and wisdom means insight. We need to behave, and live in a more stable way, a healthy way, and then we can achieve peace of mind. And when we have peace of mind, then we can see things as they are. Then we cultivate insight to life. So this is the only way that we can go. This is the Majjhima Nikaya, the Majjhima Magga. This is the middle way. The Eightfold Path is the middle way. So the difference sometimes just happens in some small places. Like, for example, people use different ways to meditate, but they share the same goal. That goal is peace and insight. Nothing more than this, right? So whatever way you practice, when you can achieve peace and insight, then that's it. You are walking on the middle way of the Buddha. Because there can be thousands of ways of practice or meditation. It's not surprising. Or even you can use some methods from other religions, but at least it brings you the peace of mind. That's good. That's also no problem. You can use it to achieve the peace of mind, but don't forget the insight also.
So you don't have to practice Buddhism to achieve a Buddhist result?
The Buddhism, actually, the Buddha, when Buddha referred to Buddhism, he focused a lot on the Eightfold Path, not just a particular way of meditation. The Eightfold Path. Eightfold Path is a Buddhist teaching.
Through all the lineages, obviously, I presume, yes. I mean, within Tibetan Buddhism or whatever, all, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this is the common nature of all Buddhist sects. Otherwise, they cannot say themselves Buddhist.
Maybe I'll understand it in the next 10 or 20 years, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's good, thank you.
Thank you. Mine is a question more about the preoccupation with escaping this reality. Not escaping, but moving through the cycles or the steps to escape this particular cycle of suffering. And we've talked about karma, we've talked about freeing ourselves of the delusion of permanence of being, the permanence of anything. We talked about flow, we talked about staying in the present moment, and the continuation rather than the fixed point. My difficulty is with this preoccupation of ours that there is something else to be aspiring to. So, karma is a really interesting concept to think about, and people have attached all kinds of different philosophy and wisdom, we'll say, to principles of karma. But I'm more interested in changing my karma right now in this lifetime rather than thinking about a next lifetime or that there are superior forms of life, right? Because that is a human conditioning or a human construct. Why is it that human beings, we have positioned ourselves as superior? Right? There are people who are living on this planet and have lived very well, not escaping the vicissitudes of life or of being a flesh human body, but they have lived with relative peace, relative harmony, relative cooperation. And I would say that those people are indigenous peoples to whatever land and wherever they are living in the world. And their concepts of suffering, hell, paradise, unity, harmony, all exist within this lifetime. Why is it that we're preoccupied with other lifetimes? I mean, I was brought up within a Vedantic Bhakti yoga culture, so I understand some of these principles, but I kind of had to let go because I was becoming too preoccupied with lives in the future. Why are we not just fixed now? This is the life that I will remember. This is the life that I'm giving meaning to, that I'm getting attached, that I'm getting dragged down, that I'm feeling angry about or sad about. So right now, the karma is only about this lifetime, right? We are trying to get along with our neighbors and our family members and our co-workers and the people that we agree to live in community with. And isn't this also what Buddha taught?
Yeah, actually the Buddha didn't require us to believe in the different lives. There's no, actually the Buddha didn't ask us to believe this. But the Buddha asked us to believe the karma and results. That is not related to one life or many lives, right? Even just one life, your actions, your behavior has a result. So just behave, to do the good actions. This is what the Buddha taught. We can't see the past life and future life because we don't have the ability. But we need to keep ourselves open to this. This may be true, although we can't. We are not sure of that, but that may be true. So that will broaden our scope of vision. Not just focusing on this very life, and thinking that the death is the end of everything. When you think that the death is the end of everything, then when you nearly die, then you do everything you want. When you kill people because my life's going to end, I don't need to take responsibility anymore, right? But when you know that it is possible that we may have next life, just like it is possible we have tomorrow, so you will not just give up everything, give up all the morality before you die. So it has the actual function to think in this way. But the Buddha didn't ask us to believe in the samsara, in the lives. But he said, even if there's only life, when you do the bad karma, it will lead to suffering in this very life. And this is true. So no, it's not about whether there's a next life or not. It's about the cause and effect. So just the Buddha asks us to focus not just on this very life, but focus on this very moment. Because we can only do the karma in this moment. We can't do the karma in next moment or the past moment, right? So just focus on this moment, the present moment. This is where we can practice. Even we think that we just focus on this life, it's not right. Because actually we have only one moment. So behave every moment. Keep your behavior, speech, and thinking good, wholesome, then that will lead to a happier future.
But also where I appreciate the way you put that, because I think our moments are also not our own moments. And I know I'm speaking of the isolated self or the individuated self, but those moments belong to other generations, right? So if we think about our behavior in this moment, as you so beautifully said, that, you know, it's not just about this lifetime, but it's about what we're doing in this present moment, being the only one
Yes.
that exists. We're also karmically affecting the moments
Partly.
for other generations or our neighbors over in the
Yeah.
next nation, or which
Yeah,
is
we are partly conditioned, but partly free. And how big is the part of freedom depends on our mindfulness.
Thank you.
We have to leave. So are you okay? It's okay.
Thank you. This question about the meditation. When we do when I do meditation, so I usually do like I'm aware of my eyes is closed and my not tight, and then it's in a whole body. So thinking about that, and then I keep my breath into the heart or and the nose, but the thoughts is coming is really fast, one after another one, and then it's in a concentrating or the looking at my breath is only really hard. So I'm asking that is normal or this is not?
Of course, it is normal. Everything happens is normal because everything is conditional, right?
Yeah.
So remember, when our mind is coarse, then we need to give it a coarse object. When the mind is subtle, then we need to give it a subtle object. Now, if you force a coarse mind to focus on a subtle object, then you create tension. Then you cannot stay long in this object because it's too small, too subtle for your mind now. Just like you force an elephant to go into the house of a dog. It's impossible, right? So you should be wise in choosing the right object according to the status of your mind. When the mind is coarse, it's not concentrated, it's not subtle enough, then just use a more obvious object to settle the mind. Remember, the object of meditation is the place to settle the mind. It's not the gym room for the mind. It's not a dumbbell, right? People use it as kind of dumbbell. But it's a place to settle the mind. Only when the mind feels settled or peaceful or become secure, has such a good feeling towards the object, then the mind will be more and more peaceful and subtle. So at the beginning, if the breathing is too subtle, how do you know it's too subtle or not? If you use a lot of concentration or focus, then it is too subtle for you now. So just if you can simply keep your mind on that object, and you feel peaceful, you feel relaxed, you feel easeful, then that's right. That's the right object. So at the beginning, usually I'll ask people, don't close the eyes first at the beginning of meditation, and just come back to accompany your body. Just use the whole body, because it's big enough. When you focus on this point, it's too small. When you just come back to the whole body, just know it normally, and don't even think that you are meditating. Don't think in this way. Once you think that I'm meditating, then you will be, right? You will go into the battle mode. But if you don't think that I'm meditating, I'm just living. I'm just living in the present moment. I just accompany my body with kindness. So if you're thinking this way, you feel easeful. So when you feel easeful, that means this object is suitable, is proper for your mind to settle down. And you continue it long enough, the mind will settle down, and become more and more peaceful and subtle. Then it will naturally go into more subtle details of the breathing, or the body, or the feelings. And that happens naturally. So if you do it according to this theory, then you find it easier. So at the beginning is that the starting point is the most important. So as I said, start all meditations from waking up the mind. If you don't wake up, just go into whatever object you're using. You are just like working in a dream. You're meditating in a dream. So when you wake up to the present moment, then you are practicing meditation in the reality. So just wake up first and keep maintain such continuous wakefulness. When it's continuous and natural, and then the mind will settle down. It'll be more peaceful.
I want to come back to karma because it's quite an uncomfortable topic, and because my view is that certain cultures have appropriated this term karma. It's like we hear if somebody was born disabled, they must have done something bad in their last life. We know even in India, the caste system, and actually if you were born in the Dalit, which is now the legal term, the Dalit term, you must have done something bad. That the African descent people, because we're enslaved, we must have done something bad. And it's almost this kind of quite linear. And we do know that actually certain views of karma was outside of the box of just action. It was like people trying to explain, make sense of something. We had a bad crop, and so, you did something wrong. And I think, like, just even if I get a cold, it's not because I'm bad. It might have been that I went out and I got caught in the rain. There's a biology. It's not just linear. There are other factors. And I think just really, coming back to some of the core teachings of the Buddha, he simply says we're going to suffer because we're going to age, we're going to get sick, and we're going to die. So there's no escape from suffering, because we are going to suffer, not because we perhaps did something really bad. Of course, I do believe actions have consequences. It was one of the teachings that I found hard to get to grips with, but it's true. Actions do have consequences, but I just really wanted to put that in the field, and not that, that karma is this linear thing. Yeah.
Well, actually, the core meaning of karma is about the habits. It is not some mysterious force that decide our fate, but it's our own habits create the world, create the conditions that we are being. Because why we are living in a human world? Because we have human mind. Why we are living in an animal world? Because we are animal mind. What's the animal mind? Animal mind is just interest in eating, peeing, pooing, and mating. This is only all the interests or meaning of their life, right? If we have such mindsets, that means we have animal mind. We will be born in an animal world. or if we have a lot of cravings towards something, whatever it is, a person or a place or an object, we crave so strongly, then this is the hungry ghost mind. So such hungry ghost mind will create hungry ghost world. So this is the power of habit. It's not decided by our consciousness, but the subconsciousness, because all these habits work in the subconsciousness. It's just cause and effect, conditional. So if we cultivate a lot of unwholesome habits, then we will have an unwholesome mind, and that will create an unwholesome world in the future. Unwholesome world, not just world, not just a kind of objective world, but a world, the experiential world. Even you are living in, people are living in Canada, the same, but some people live in a very suffered way, and some people live in a very happy way, right? This is they're living in the different experiential way, experiential world. This is because of the karma, the habits, the subconscious habits. So even in the same weather, some people feel good, some people feel bad. The same. So this is the power of the habit. It's not something mysterious, or it's not about doom or fate. It's when we understand more into the mechanism of mind, then we will find the power of habit. It's so strong. And some strong habits we can't even resist. So, for example, when you are so hungry, you go on fasting for several days, and when you can start eating on the first day, and you feel the want to eat, you can't stop it. You can't refill such want. You don't even you don't want to have such want. You can't do it, right? Because this is habit. It works according to what you cultivated in your subconscious, not by your the consciousness. So even you don't like it, but you need to suffer from the old habits. And this is karma. So when we extend this mechanism to many lives, so there are, of course, you see some people will be born talent, and some people will be born maybe have less ability. Why is that? Because it's because of old cultivations in the past lives. It is our own behavior. It's not about fate or some beings give you this life or give you that life. It's our own habits. So it's our own habit, own behavior create our own life.
But there is a view that we are superior to the person who doesn't have as many talents. I mean, if you think of somebody like Ram Dass, who actually had the stroke, and he actually says he felt so much closer to awakeness than when he was fully abled. You know, somebody like Thich Nhat Hanh, we don't know, just because he had this stroke, he may have been fully awake. So it's this thing of, I think that sometimes we tend to think we're superior to this person, and that's why they've had the bad karma. And
sometimes so-called good or bad is not just in our imagination or what we are thinking. Sometimes it's not for sure. For example, if some people may get sick, but even if you have a lot of pain in the physical body, but he has a lot of inspiration from such experience, then he will enlighten. So how can you say this? Whether is it a good karma or bad karma? It is bad in the worldly view, but it is good in the view of practice. So if we have wisdom, we can even transform the what's so-called bad karma into a good into a benefit our practice.
I mean, it's like Angulimala, isn't it? It's that actually he still suffered, people still threw rocks at him, etc.
Yeah.
But yet at the same time, he was awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's like even you can do these really unwholesome actions, but that doesn't mean to say that you can't wake up. But then you still suffer. Yeah.
Except there are some strong karmas. There are 4 strong karmas the Buddha mentioned: killing father, killing mother, killing the arahants, and let the Buddha breathe. Right? These are the 4 strong karmas that will hinder your enlightenment. So except this, even you killed 999 people, it is still possible for you to enlighten. But of course, you also need to face the result of it.
Sure.
So then in living a life in pursuit of doing good in the world, perhaps following an eightfold path, if you are a human being, let's say you're born into a circumstance where you were told right from the beginning, you're garbage, you're not worth anything, you are bad, you are a burden, you are this, you are that, and you are treated this way. How do we square, how do we reconcile the difference between someone who has been affected by other people's negative actions, behaviors, habits, and that person is suffering because as a child, we can't detach, right? In this lifetime, to get to a certain point where we can begin to discuss, or we can begin to entertain the idea of letting go of attachment and condition. How do we get to a healthy place if we're part of an oppressed group, let's say, and we have been devalued since we were tiny? Then that person, it's not necessarily that they're suffering because of their own bad habits, their own actions, behaviors. It's that they feel worthless. And so that feeling, that conditioning, that deep conditioning follows that person. So how does that person escape, when they feel so low already about themselves, Is it that we need the compassion of community? Or is it that we need the chance or the karmic encounter of somebody who is full of loving kindness? Like, where does it begin? How does the cycle end?
Well, the love from other people or love from yourself is just a kind of to make you feel better. But this is also important. Sometimes we need to feel better before our mind can be awake, right? Sometimes when the suffering is too strong, we need such remedy first. But the true change comes from wakefulness. Only when you wake up and then you can perceive things correctly. It's not that the problem doesn't come from how your past is, but the problem comes from you still attached to your past. This is the attachment of ego. You grow up in such circumstances and you believe that you are of this form, right? So such attachment creates a problem, creates a suffering. So even you believe you're grown up in a good family, everyone praise you, saying that you're so good, you're so beautiful, you're so nice, and you believe that, oh, I'm good, I'm nice, I'm beautiful person, then This is also an attachment of ego too. And that creates the same suffering in the future. So it's an attachment creates a suffering, but not the good or bad. A good or bad is just it's about the karma. It's about the quality of feeling. But the suffering itself is the attachment. When even you are conditioned to be a low self-valued person, when you wake up and then you have the right view to re-understand yourself, then you can jump out from your old attachment to the ego.
Absolutely, but that necessitates having that possibility presented to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we cannot encounter with our limited minds a possibility, an idea of escaping that, unless somebody says, "Hey, have you ever thought of thinking this way?" Oh, hey, look at this; it's completely different. Right? If the train is going and it just keeps going and there's no possibility of a stop, so is it our responsibility then collectively to present opportunities and ideas to those that are suffering?
Yeah, in our practice we need the merit and wisdom, both. If we have wisdom but we don't have any merit, then we'll be always living a very suffering life. Then we can't even have the energy to think in the Dhamma. Even you understand, you have read everything, but you can't do it because you're emotionally hindered.
Yes.
So in this situation, we need merit. So the practice of loving kindness is also creating merit, creating happiness. That will give you the condition to wake up, to release from the bad emotions. So this is also important. If a people don't have enough merit, it's very difficult. But the merit is not, the need for merit is not unlimited. We just need a certain level of merit before we can give rise to the wisdom. And it is only the wisdom can actually solve the problem of suffering. Because with wisdom we understand that the suffering doesn't come from the circumstances, doesn't come from the past, but come from the attachment. Then we can actually solve the core of the problem. But before the wisdom can be brightened, we need certain level of merit. We need a certain level of good conditions for the wisdom to lead itself.
Hi. Do you believe that bad things can happen to us as a way of guiding us into awakening or awareness?
Guide what?
Us into awakening or awareness, so that potentially bad things or circumstances will happen as a way to awaken us, as a way to bring us into awareness.
Yes. If you have wisdom, then you can transform it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have wisdom, you will be stuck. So this is the power of the wisdom. If we have already built up the right view, then we are safe. So no matter what circumstances we are in, we can understand it. We can transform it as power to push our practice. So this is the power of right view. But the right view doesn't come from no reason. We also need to you need to have such merit to have the condition to get in touch with the teaching. Right? This is merit. If we don't have merit, we cannot cannot listen to the Dhamma. We can never think about or can't read anything about Dhamma. Then we can never think in this way. Then once we have some bad things happen, we'll be stuck. We'll be stuck in the hell.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if I had merit, but I would say that meditate. Many people who have known what my trajectory was, what was it, and I would say that meditation was the thing that transformed my life. I've been, fortunate. I've been practicing for over 30 years now. So it took, and I was in deep samsara when I walked into the halls of meditation. But yet there was something that, for the first time, I experienced contentment without having to induce it with anything, and then finding like-minded people. So I really do, it's my story. If I had written my story 30, 40 years ago, it'd be very different from what I would do today. And it's that meditator's job is not to get caught in the story. And when we're caught in the story, that's what creates the suffering. And, even, I won't even say I had bad things happen in my life now, because that creates a story. Things happen. So it really is, no matter what has happened in our conditioning, it is possible to have freedom. It really is, and I've seen it from other people who, I have a friend who, grew up in such a state that actually one of the children killed the mother because of whatever, but this person, I'm not saying she's awake, but she has freedom. That, it's possible. However, it's practice, I think, and what does practice look like? But it is possible to have freedom. And, for me, that the practice of metta, the Brahma Viharas, a practice of loving kindness, because I think that when we are told we're no good, I was told I was going to end up scrubbing the floors, blah, 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 and then forget about what society says about black people and whatever. But actually, how do we learn to love ourselves? That, if we don't love and like ourselves, and that's what the practice of metta can really teach Abraham. It's to come into relationship with ourselves, because what anybody else does is icing on the cake. I just want to say it is possible to have freedom. Yeah.
Well, when you can still sense happiness, that means you have merit.
Yes.
Merit means happiness. And in order to have our wisdom grow, we need to have happy mind. If you are unhappy, then it's difficult to cultivate wisdom too. So cultivate both happiness and wisdom. When you are wiser, then whatever happened to you, it cannot affect your happiness. You can preserve your inner happiness. This is the power of wisdom. And with wisdom, you will energize your wisdom. You have more wisdom. Your mind will be clearer, and will think in different ways. You see things from different perspectives. When you have enough energy of happiness, you can do it. So these two are helping each other. The brain and the heart are helping each other. Wisdom is the good quality of the brain, and happiness is the good quality of your heart. When these two engines are good, then they will help each other. Time's up? Okay, so thank you everyone for attending this tea chat.